Valentine's Day is a celebration of love. I enjoy giving and receiving sweet gifts and notes, especially when they include chocolates and flowers. So now we're gonna create our drop flowers, and I would make these a day ahead of my project because they take a little bit of time to dry and then use on our bouquet cookies. So the first thing I'm going to make sure is that my bag is just straight up and down. That'll keep our petals from fanning into kind of a wonky direction. And then, I don't know if you can hear that, but I have the tip really resting on the cookie sheet, and that gives me a little bit of stability so I don't feel quite so shaky. So now I'm just going to time my turn with my squeeze. I'm going to turn my wrist as if I'm opening a lid on a jar. And then once I have those petals flared out, I'm just gonna pull up. And if you see a little center to the flower, that's okay. We're gonna fill that in with a little dot of white icing. And then these flowers, they just come together really nice and quick. And we're gonna spend a little extra time on our packaging of this bouquet cookie project. So I like these nice, quick flowers that just make my job a little easier. So I like to store, once the flowers are dry, I like to store them in little small Tupperware containers, and I just keep them up in a cool, dry cabinet shelf, and you can really keep these flowers for a long time. It's great for using up leftover icing, and then you can have flowers in lots of different colors. Now, I like to keep that swirl starting before I really start squeezing the icing. If you start to squeeze first, see that one? It just kind of blobs out. So keep that tip moving to see the most movement and flare in those flower petals. And we'll just do a couple more in that pastel pink. So I'm using a Wilton tip 129, but you can also use a 224 or a 225. These make this size flower, which is really great for using on cookies. So now I'm just gonna add the center to that flower. So if you have a little opening there, that's fine. That's just where you're gonna fill in that white icing and complete that flower. So you want to let those flowers dry for at least 12 to 18 hours so that we can just pop them right off the parchment and use them to glue onto our bouquet. So I already have our bouquet flooded, and I suggest letting that dry for at least 6 hours because we're going to put a little pressure onto the surface of the icing, and we don't want to poke all the way through. Now to glue on these flowers, I'm going to use my green icing, and that'll be helpful because if we have any oozing, it'll sort of just blend into the background. Now if it's helpful, you can put your flowers on just to get an idea of how those colors are going to come together. And so I sort of have them arranged here already with the colors in a varied pattern. Okay, so I think that's probably enough flowers. So now we're gonna add the stems. I still have my number 2 tip on there, and I'm just gonna fill in that area. So I'll just wiggle my tip up as high as it can go, piping these straight lines coming down. And that gives a nice full look. And I'm gonna switch my tips to a mini leaf tip, tip number 349. And this is great for just adding leaf detail around the edge of our bouquet, and if you want to fill in any of that negative space, you can go in with your tip. So I just wiggle the tip right up next to the flower and give a nice pull to get that leaf shape. And if it helps to turn your cookie, just to see where you're piping your leaves, go ahead and pipe in a way that's comfortable for you. I see a lot of negative space right there, so I'm gonna sneak the tip in there and just fill in with that leaf. And now we're almost done with this cookie. We're just gonna go back and add a little white across the stems just to give the look of those being in a bouquet are being gathered. So I have a cute packaging tip for you just to really make this look like it's a bouquet of flowers. If you pick up a 6-inch doily, and you can just add a little piece of tape right across the top to make it look like a bouquet of flowers. Now, I don't like butter marks on my doily, so I actually like to pack my cookie first and then slide it into the doily and add a pink ribbon.